There are white figures in the fields. Where I work is in the middle of nowhere, smack dab between a massive cornfield and the highway. Two factories, one trucking company, and a place to rent farming equipment are the only buildings around. Then nothing for miles. Sometimes you can see car lights going on by the highway at the night, over the grown fields. I've always wondered why they didn't use the empty field for a cornfield. The factory I worked at was huge, so I understood the reasoning putting it in the middle of no man's land because it wouldn't fit anywhere else. To get to my job, I needed to drive straight down the road for 5 minutes passing the empty fields. People tend to speed down that stretch, even though the road really needs to be repatched and small potholes filled in. You would think after 2 years of having to drive that route, I would know each bump and hole in order to avoid them, but I still hit them. Driving down the road in pitch black night, I made the rookie mistake of lifting up my coffee cup from my holder, trying to drink it when I hit a bump and spilled the drink all over my lap. "Oh, perfect," I said to myself in the dark, the car slowing down. I put the coffee back into the cup holder and stopped at the end of the road. You could only turn left towards the factories and other buildings. Turning right drove you into the fields. In front of me was a large concert block keeping from people driving off the road, and another one to the right, but enough space to fit a small car through if for whatever reason you wanted to go into the endless grass. While I was stopped, I got myself cleaned up as much as possible. It was factory work and I didn't really care about my appearance. Satisfied, I tried starting up my car again and nothing. My headlights still turned on, but the cars refused to start back up. I was confused. I never had any issues or signs of trouble with this car. Not even a check engine light. I tried the ignition again, thinking I didn't just press it down hard enough. The worst case scenario is I get my car towed back after my shift and ask my brother for a ride home. He wouldn't be happy waking up early to come and get me after my midnight shift, but he owed me. The radio was still on. A sudden burst of static from it made me jump. That wasn't anything unusual. The road was a dead zone. The radio did drop out all the time, or a different station would bleed over the one I had dialed it to. I also could never get a signal out here, and my car dropped the connection to my phone all the time, making it impossible to have read my messages until I got closer to the highway. So, when the radio screamed static, and what sounded like faint voices, I wasn't scared. I turned it off, trying to get the car started for a third time. I did get scared when I looked up, staring off into the field beyond. What in the world? My own voice sounding low and trembling. The full moon giving me enough light to see what was beyond what my headlights was illuminating. A mist covered in the massive field to my right. Inside that mist, a figure rose from the ground. It looked like a person with long white hair, dressed entirely in white, just standing in the mist. My brain gave me anything that would write it off as normal. People like to walk their dogs in the grass. Maybe I didn't just see them until now? That must be it. Something like that. I almost believed it until I saw more shapes rise up from the mist, all pure white and faintly glowing, their forms flickering in the dark. I had just enough of that. Reaching for my door, I was gonna run the entire way to my job and get someone to check this out. They can see what the hell this was all about. I would stay safely inside the building. Pushing on the door after lifting the handle, it didn't move. The figures in the field started moving forward on an unseen staggering feet, and my damn door was stuck. It wasn't locked. I flicked the lock and unlocked the switch a dozen times. It didn't budge. I tried the button for my windows, but nothing happened. In a panic, I reached over to the other door, finding it unlocked but to be stuck as well. I didn't understand it. First the car stops running, and then the locks and the windows refused to move. It didn't make any sense. The car was new. It shouldn't be having these issues. My brain didn't want to think that those white figures slowly coming my way could be involved, right? The radio flickered back on, causing me to let out a yelp of fear. I knocked the rest of my coffee from the holder, darting back into the driver's seat. Through the static, I could hear a song. I couldn't hear the words inside the music. No matter how hard I listened, I didn't even know what language was being sung into that melody mix between the crackles of the radio. Looking up, I saw one of the white figures fairly close to my car, hair over their face. It kept walking forwards. The mist traveled with it, hiding its footsteps. Beyond in the fields, more started to appear. My throat closed when I realized in a few short seconds I was looking at a mob of them. Not the 4 or 5 before I tried the doors and the windows. I reached for my phone and wasn't even surprised to get no signal. I raised it to take a photo of the things in the mist in case I died. I wanted my brother to have proof of the supernatural creature that killed me. So far they haven't even looked my way, but I wasn't trusting them to be friendly. The photos I took turned out completely black, and I groaned. I ran through my head, desperately trying to figure out what was I gonna do. I finally decided I was gonna break my windows to get out of my car. The emergency kit in the back seat was just a liter of water and a jacket just in case I was stranded in the snow. I foolishly did not buy something that cracks window in case of an accident and you need to get out fast. If I got through that night, I swore I would be more prepared in the future and buy a real emergency kit. Wrapping my fist in the jacket from the back seat, I steadied myself and punched the window. Pain traveled through my knuckles all the way to my teeth. It sucked. The window looked perfectly fine, so I braced myself to hit it again. No matter how hard I punched at it with my fist and my elbow, it didn't even scratch my window. I sat, arm throbbing, and still stuck inside my car with more white figures drifting by. I stopped trying to escape to try and recover a little. My arm hurt too damn much to keep going, and I didn't want to hurt my other one for no reason. Even if I could get out of my car, then what? Those figures were now everywhere, standing up in the fields and slowly making their way forward, down the road towards the factories. I squinted in the mist, trying to see the lights of the buildings or the highway, and saw nothing but that sudden thick fog. I was all alone, trapped inside my car with these strange ghostly things. A loud crackle from the radio made me jump again. I reached over trying to silence it. No matter what I did, it was the same with the car door. It wasn't turning off or acting logically. Fear shot up into my throat when I saw a figure turn her head towards the car. Long pale hair covered its face, but I knew it heard the radio and it started to come towards the car. When it passed the other figures, they changed their path, following it. These things were now aware of me, and there wasn't a damn thing I could do about it. I turned the radio knob, praying it might get to a different station, that it wasn't all static. This had to be a nightmare. That was it. A nightmare. Things like this don't just happen.
Join us.
Words came through the static, jumbled, and most of the sound dropped. It became stronger and stronger, one phrase coming through the crackled radio.
Join us.
Looking up, I saw one of the pale things were just in front of my car, just standing there, head down and face covered. I started to punch my window again in a desperate attempt to get free. Sore arm be damned. I didn't even wrap my hand in my jacket. I was so scared. I needed to get out of that car. One figure stopped beside a passenger window, bent down to look inside. I couldn't make out the features through its hair. It's now actively looking at me, putting me in a panicked fury. It reached the hand out, and to my sheer horror, the hand started to slowly come through the solid window, the image rippling as if it was made out of water. It looked like pushing a hand towards took some effort, and I had a few seconds before it reached me. Still, I fought trying to get out, panic taking over any kind of rational thought. It pushed through one arm first, and then its head. Another arm came through, and it braced its hand against the inside of the door to try and push its body the rest of the halfway through. All while that horrible static kept getting louder and louder. I was focused in on that figure, and I wasn't even aware of the other one in the driver's side window until it was too late. Icy cold hands grabbed at me. So cold it felt like they were burning through my uniform. I screamed until I just couldn't scream anymore. It pulled its hands away, taking something with it. My arm stayed, but something white came from my skin. The figure kept a grip on it, trying to pry out whatever white mist was from my body. I felt so cold, my muscles freezing up. I pulled back, my strength fading. I didn't know what was happening, but I knew if it fully pulled that white form for me, it would be all over. The moment before I exhausted all my willpower, I snapped forward and heard an ear-shattering crunching and twisting sound. My car was being thrown forwards, back spinning out of control. I blacked out from the impact of something hitting my car from behind. I wasn't sure how long I was passed out for. When I woke up, head spinning, and in such an immense amount of pain, I thought I was dying. A coworker was yelling at me through the shattered window. Blood dripped down my face. I could barely keep my eyes open. Still, I looked around to see no mist or white figures walking around. Listening to my coworker trying to tell me that help was on the way, I drifted back into the darkness. I woke up a few days later in a hospital. I had a few things broken, but I was alive. Cops came in to ask me what happened on my side and explain what they knew. My car was stopped on a dark road with none of my lights on. My coworker was flying down the bumpy road, driving at highway speeds. According to him, he saw me far too late and slammed into my car, sending it into a few spins. No one understood why my airbag didn't go off or why I even stopped in the first place. Being tired and knowing no one would believe me about the figures, I lied and said I don't remember. From how hard I slammed my head against the steering wheel, they took it as a valid answer. My coworker felt so terrible about nearly killing me, but I forgave him right away so long as he drove slower on the dark roads at night. I haven't figured out what happened to me on that field or even what those figures were. Honestly, after I recover, I'm gonna find a job in the city where most street lights are lit up at the night.